My name is Csiro and I'm from Csiro, the National Science Agency. Csiro, my senior hydrodynamic modeler, and Csiro, who is again a hydrodynamic modeler. Both girls have done a brilliant job. We were given a contract, as Pat said, by NEMA to look at what can be done scientifically in this analysis. We have consulted with the community. I have come here right from the beginning multiple times and it's given in the report. We have produced finally the outcomes or outputs which show whether the floods can be reduced in the beginning, and I promised you in the beginning that I do not know whether it can be 10 centimeter reduction or a meter. Now we are getting 2.08. For some people it's big, for others it's nothing. I don't make that judgment. I just showed that scientifically what can be done if these detentions are put in place. We have handed over all of the results and data sets to NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency. Csiro is a science organization. Our role is finished in the project. I will answer, me and these two girls will answer all technical questions that you have. Any policy questions or what happens from now on or any data, you have to talk to NEMA and New South Wales RA.
Thank you, Joe. Just throw it to Will.
Thanks, Pat. So, obviously, we would expect that there is some consideration of what happens next, and I can briefly talk to that. As Pat said, the report of the study that Jay and the team has been undertaking was just handed down on the 30th of June. Also on the 30th of June, state and federal government made a financial commitment to keep the momentum behind this body of work. So the state government's contributed $2 million, the federal government $1 million. So it's very much a partnership of state and federal government to move forward the outcomes of the body of work that Jay and the team have delivered over the last 3 or 4 years. And I guess effectively for the New South Wales RA, we will take on a coordinating role where we bring in the relevant agencies and subject matter experts, because at the end of the day, I think what we've heard over the last couple of days, what we will likely hear this morning, although I'm not going to anticipate that, that would be wrong of me to do that. But the sentiments are, okay, that's great, that's what the science says. Now, are these things feasible? Are you actually going to go ahead and build these things? And so that's where the RA will coordinate what we're calling a stage 1 feasibility assessment. The $3 million is by no means what it would take to do a business case. They are very expensive, but what we want to be able to do is to start giving that little bit more certainty around things like the social impact, the economic impact, the environmental impact, the viability of constructing these particular measures that are represented in the Bundle 1 and Bundle 2 of the work that Jay has done. So I'll probably just leave it at that. This is very much a conversation starter. We're very much early in the piece of what happens next. RA and NEMA will be back in the region.
RA?
Sorry?
What is RA?
The New South Wales Reconstruction Authority, thank you. The RA and NEMA will be back in the region in August to start a process engaging with each of the councils and coming to some agreement around the cadence of engagement with the community, because that's going to be a very important part of working through the feasibility assessment. So when we get to the end of it, there's no surprises. It's not like we're going to go away and do some work in the background and put a report out in 2 or 3 years' time. We need to have the community as part of that journey as well, and so that's certainly the intention from the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority and from NEMA as well. Certainly. So my name's Will Prentice. I am with the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority.
I'm Sophie Cartwright and I'm from NEMA.
Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah, Csiro. I'm a hydrologist and hydrodynamic modeler from Csiro.
Hi, I'm G. I'm a hydrologist at Csiro as well.
Thank you very much, and again, thanks for your patience. So, inspecting patients, first hands up, been there and you've had it up for a while, so thank you for that. Can we make, and I do want to express that, I know some people had some other maps out and there's signs. This is an event we're hosting to discussed. This is not actually about the advocacy for a particular view, although that's absolutely your freedom to ask questions regarding that. It's just very important that we're trying to make the most effective use of our time today. So we have a question, it's a bit hard in the crowd, so we've got one and then back there too, so thank you.
Yes, I'd like to know why you went straight to an engineering solution instead of a nature-based solution.
As you see in the report, chapter 3, I think, which is stakeholder engagement, it is discussed there that there are 2 large-scale nature-based solution projects which are currently running, which are funded through NRRP, which is monitored by New South Wales Reconstruction Authority, RA. I have spoken with the leaders. They said they do not have any results which they can give me, which can be tested in my scenario testing. So you go ahead with the ones that you have collected from the community and councils. And that's why I even have a statement in the report very clear that nature-based solutions and structural solutions go hand in hand. They do not compete with each other. So we always consider nature-based solution. And just to let you know, I am one of those who believe in it. I have funded 2 postdocs who are working on nature-based solutions.
Blue hat, and then up front as well, thank you. And then I see you back on the side.
Thanks. I've come into this a bit late, so there's basic things I don't know. One of which is, could you tell me what other options have you considered besides holding ponds, for want of a better word? Or is that it?
10 of bundle 2, 10 of the options are detention basins or holding ponds, temporary holding ponds. The other 3 are not detentions. One is making sure that the Tuckanbill Canal or the Tuckanbill is replaced with a pressure barrier one way, such that it replicates the Fabry Dam which was blown up. Other one is making sure that the Baggatville barrage gates are working correctly as designed. And third one is opening up the boundary creek to the ocean, which according to the meetings we have with locals there, always a natural opening. So those are also included in the bundle.
Now I'm going to try to keep track. We've got a question there, and then one at the front, and then I'll swing to you. Just if you can remember who's next, that will really help me. Those 2, and then back to you. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Am I now?
Oh, sorry. Yes. Yeah. You were next. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've got a few questions, but the first, most important one, I think, is there anywhere in the world where detention basins have worked so that people can live in them in a permanent basis, like so move back in after they've been flooded? And I'm not talking about a 1 metre depth, I'm talking about up to 15 metres depth.
Detention basins have been implemented across the world, especially in Japan, Netherlands, UK and those countries. But I am not aware of anyone living in a detention basin where the depth of water can go to 15 meters. I'm not aware.
Okay, and the other ones are basically about how these detention basin or dams, I'm going to call them dams because that's what they are, how they can possibly work. If you have sluice gates,
yes,
they would leave the, they wouldn't be very big compared to the size of the dam wall, and so there would always be some water left in the dam. It would never actually be fully empty. And the other thing is that no one can predict here when you're going to need to close them. Like 3 days before February the 28th, 22, nobody knew that Lismore was going to be flooded so badly. And then, so how do you then make a decision to actually close the sluice gates? And how does that actually work? Like, is it electrical power, which will probably be out? If it's remotely controlled, then they would need communications, which may not work. If it's physically controlled, there are places like the Detention Dam, for example, which would be inaccessible during that particular time.
Okay, I will answer these two because I will forget. I'm happy to come back, but I answer these two first. CSIRO is a science organization. As clearly stated in the report, we do not do structural design. What you said, that the gates, sluice gates, when they are opened, it will always hold back water. That's not the truth, because there are detentions in Japan, Netherlands, which empty completely. That's how the design is made. I'm not a structural engineer, so I won't comment. Number two, the other one was? Second question? Operation. So the operation of the sluice gate, if you read the report properly, in the report I have given that given when a flood is coming, these are the statements in the report where I show the table with the numbers, we will not know what level it will reach, whether it will reach 2017 or 2009 or 2022. So shutting of those gates is always predetermined at what level they will shut, and that's what we do in here as well. Opening of the gates will be later decided, because once the flood event is gone, you will know exactly how much water we are holding in each detention. So the optimum way of releasing will be once you know how much is there. So closing, sometime it will be a false alarm, that it might just be 2017 but we have closed, or it might be slightly smaller than 70, giving Lismore example. But false alarm is better than getting flooded and losing everything. So that's how it gets done. Number two,
Okay. So these practical questions can be answered later on, right? But to add to that, what Jay said, okay, like how you're going to know like when to close. So the way we've done it in the modeling is that we have it done at trigger points. So those that are upstream of Lismore, we put it at the trigger point in Lismore, and we've had a look at the historical hydrological flows and see what's a reasonable trigger level to do that, and so is the release. So we had a look at all of those, and then for those that are upstream of Casino, we used Casino as the trigger point. So those things like those can also be refined in the future if things have to be looked at further.
And I know you were really kind to give us some written questions as well. We'll make sure we can work to them. Yeah. We've got over here. Thank you for waiting, and then I think we've moved to a few over here. Please remind me when your hand's up as well. Okay. Thank you. Yep. That's after these guys here, and that'll be fine. So thank you.
So I also have a couple of questions. One is, how do we request detailed maps? I saw the footage from Kyoga the other day, and I understand that they're large downloads, not everybody can access them. Can we request them from somewhere, and how do we do that? In the report there was mention of 2 sites that weren't assessed as part of the simulations, Tundle Creek north of Lismore and Grady's Creek. Do we get any more information about where those are? And what those might mean, because they would be adopted as part of the second package, I believe, bundle 2. And when the reporting was done, were there any geotechnical aspects? Was there any soil saturation included in the reports?
Okay, I will answer. The first one was CSIRO finished the modeling and the report got released on 30th of June. The total outputs are about 7 terabytes of data. We have copied everything, which took 3 days to just copy on an external hard drive, transferred it to NEMA within 1 week. They are now working with that, and NEMA is taking down. Sophie Cartwright is up here. You can give your name to her, and they will provide the high resolution data. Okay? Whoever wants, put the name down. It takes time. It's a large amount of data, huge data. They will do it. What was the second question was? Grady's Creek
and Tundle Creek.
What we did was, after we have done the modeling, we saw that during certain events, at each event, different stream bring more water. 2017 was Wilson dominated, 2022 was both Leicester, Tarania, Wilson, right? So, if we put any extra storage on Tentable, it will reduce further, but no testing is done, no location, nothing. So it cannot be just included that because CSIRO put in the recommendation that put on Gradis and Tentable. It's not. The whole modeling has to be redone to check that. So that's not a possibility like that. A few years away. It just things what we can see from the outputs. Yeah. Now geotech and all, you read in the recommendation, we clearly say that this is a pure hydraulic hydrodynamic study. This is first step. Now you need to go do business design, concept design, feasibility study, geotechnical analysis, soils analysis. You have structural design. No, we haven't done. So that has to be done. It's clearly mentioned in the report.
I'll just add to that, obviously very good questions, of course logical questions as well. As Jay said, it was really about testing the viability of detention to reduce peak flood levels throughout the catchment in those historical events. The things that you talk about absolutely fit within the scope of work. The feasibility assessment will need to run to ground throughout the process.
I thought soil saturation would feed into the hydrology, that was all.
Yeah, understood. And I just might pass to my NEMA colleague to talk about the maps.
And on the maps, we will have those available on the NEMA website. As you can appreciate, and as you have mentioned, the data size of those maps are quite substantial. We've got a time frame. We're hoping to get that all done within the next 2 weeks. But thank you for your question.
I'm losing all to see. We have a question here. I know there's a couple more on this side. And gentlemen, I see you at the back there. And then back there and then down here. I think that's hopefully okay. And my apologies if I've skipped someone in the queue there.
Yeah, thank you. And firstly, just possibly a little bit of feedback. It would be really useful for the room, I think, to have potentially a presentation on the material that is here. It's complicated. We're spending a lot of time explaining what's in there. So to actually give people and get everyone onto the same page, that would be really handy. My question follows on from the woman across the room, and it was really useful actually, and thank you to you two modellers who we had some discussions with before that were really useful discussions, to Chi and Michelle. Thank you. In terms of global precedents, and this would be something that would be useful in a presentation, would be good not just to have, yes, it's happened elsewhere, but to also understand what the learnings and failure rates and impacts and community understanding of those projects are. So that's sort of my question, as to whether or not you've done that and whether or not we can get some information around it.
The second part that you spoke about, we are giving presentations to the councils, but they are pretty technical, right? Really technical details, and that's why we followed a different format with community. I understand some of you are more technical than me. Quite a few have advised me that this is wrong, but that's why I have done it for 30 years, but what we can do is I can make a presentation available either through NEMA or through CSIRO, which I am presenting to the councils online, and you can download that, and then if you have questions, happy to answer any question. And we are not looking into any case study because this is the first time something mitigation at this scale has been done, at least in Australia.
Some questions. I'm sorry, I couldn't pick what you got. This Mike, thank you. And then behind here.
It's me. I'd just like to address one issue you have mentioned previously, and it seems to be something on which a lot of your plan is hanging on, that in the 22 flood, the level would have been reduced had you had this bundle of 2 or 10 dams, let's call them dams, by 2 metres, or I think you might have refined it as 2.08 metres. The flood height, and I have been measuring rainfall up in Wyong for over 10 years now. The flood height in 22 above the normal level of the water was 14.4 metres. You're going to cut 2.8 or 2 metres off that. By my calculations, that's about 14% of the volume of water. Now, I got my figures for the rainfall that we got in 22, we got 1,515 mils over the 5 days. And the rain intensity over the last period of time, 10 p.m. Sunday to 5 a.m. Monday, was up to 60 and 75 mils per hour, which is ferocious. If you want to know more about that, speak to Ed Bennett from the SES, he knows all about it. What I'm saying is that when that water first comes down, and this is just Terania Creek, not Branch Creek, Terania Creek, those 10 dams containing 14% of the volume of water that we saw infiltrating or flooding Lismore are going to be filled. That gives me simple calculations of 86% of the water that we saw in the Lismore Valley is going to be cascading through your 10 dams, cascading over them, around them, and anywhere else it can get through. How do you consolidate that information that your 2 metres makes your 10 dams worthwhile?
Thank you very much for your question, and good that you have done all these calculations. I appreciate that. That's what I'm showing in the report, or CSIRO is showing in the report, that when we don't have those 10 dams, what levels and flooding you get in Lismore and downstream. When we can hold about 400 gigaliters in those 6, and those 10 are not upstream of Lismore, 2 upstream of Kyogle, 2 upstream of Casino, and 6 upstream of Lismore. The 400 gigaliters which we hold in those, it has to be held at the right time, where you need to be expert enough to have that trigger to switch off, which we have shown in the report, that we are cutting the peak of the thing. If we had it closed right from the beginning, that 400 will be filled and it's useless. But that's the trick, and that's what is shown in the report. So if you read it properly, that 2.08, we are taking it at the peak when everything gets flooded. If the water is flowing at a lower rate, all of that water over the 15 days, it will not flood everything. And that's the whole trick of this hydraulic modeling.
One thing on that, in the 24 hours from 8 a.m. Sunday to 8 a.m. Monday, up at Wine, we got 861 mil in 24 hours.
Yes.
In the Shannon, they got a lot more.
We just use the word, sorry.
Yes.
They got a lot more.
Yes.
When you say you're going to leave them open and let the water flow through and then you're going to shut them, you've got a 24-hour window in which to operate. In the next 24 hours, we got another 304 mil. We're talking about massive flows of water. You can understand a lot of us here don't have a whole lot of faith in your argument of we will hold 2 metres back from the flooding of Lismore. That's all I'd like to make the point about.
Very good. You made the point. And I'm telling you, every number that CSIRO has put in the report, we can defend it, and there might be a difference of 0.1 centimeter. But if you are saying 2.08, it will be 2.08 if the structures are implemented exactly the way it is noted here. Number 2, I have done the calculation. You are doing it with rainfall. The amount of water passing through Lismore when there were no detentions on one day on 28 is 760 gigaliters. The whole trick is, that's why 30 years you take to be expert, how you hold those at the right time at different detention. And it's all in the report. After that, if you are questioning, fair enough, I can't give any better answer.
Can I just add that those 10 that we are talking about, so as Jay clearly said, 6 were upstream of Lismore, and that will help with the 2 meters. The 4 others are upstream of Casino, so that will take off about 1 meter there. And because of the cascade of all of this, in Ballina, we are saying it's just going to be a small amount. They're saying like point something, but that means that because Ballina is flat, it's not going to be, a lot of the CBD won't be flooded. So we're just not talking about, say, 2 meters here and da. It will be like across the catchment downstream. So just clarifying that, thank you.
Keep moving. We've got a couple there. Over the gentleman waiting there, someone there. I apologise, and you down here. We'll get back to you. If you've had a go, just try to share this around a bit too. But it's really important that we get a widespread. So thank you for your patience.
Okay. You guys heard that in the back?
You've got a microphone too.
Working, okay. I just wanted to say that 30 years of experience is no match for Mother Nature. We bought in our property 5 years ago. We did our due diligence, bought a flood-free farm, and now we're bang in the middle of your detention dam. I'd like to say to people here, who knows about the Water Amendment Bill that went through on the 7th of May? Not many though, do you? This is the government, and I talk to the government here. They are reserving the right to flood for private property and give you no compensation for doing it. Now, exactly. Very sneaky, and there was no consultation again. Like here, 4 years on, nobody in the affected region knows anything about it, and I have friends that were in council themselves that knew nothing about it. So everything's done very sneakily. And I want to say, with your detention dams, with this huge shed load of water, the people down further stream, are we going to have another Grantham like in Queensland? I feel for the people in Lismore, they're already traumatised. Now you're adding more trauma to our farmers and our valleys. And who says that these dams might not break? You're asleep at night and a wall of water, a tsunami wave comes through and takes everything in its path. You know, you sleep in your bed at night. I can't sleep now. I think about this all the time. Where do we go? What do we do with all the work we've done? I would like to hear what your response is.
Thank you for your question, and I answered your question in Kyogal in detail, but what I will say is I will again talk to you and explain that what was given to us, I have tested that, and no government just do these things. Csiro is a science organization, and I will hand over to Will, who will explain the next steps. What will happen is not that it will happen tomorrow.
Agricultural land, farmers all through the West are fighting the same thing, the takeover of land, prime agricultural land. We all need to eat. What are we going to be eating?
All right, let me deal with the question. So, from a New South Wales government perspective, the work that we do under the floodplain risk management manual, the number one priority is protecting public safety. So, when we work through the feasibility assessment, things like public safety, the ability to operate the structures as Jay has discussed, they all need to feed into the consideration of the viability of these structures. So I'm not going to talk to other bits and pieces. All I can say as a commitment from the New South Wales government is that we need to take a holistic approach when we're considering the feasibility assessment and consider the broad range of factors, including things like public safety. The question came up in other places, and I'm happy to share it with you here. These are large structures that are being contended. We need to go through a proper design process. We need to understand things like the ability of the land to support where these structures are. The New South Wales Flood Inquiry spoke to our floodplains as assets. We understand these are of value to the people who run their businesses from the land and who live on the land, and that needs to be reflected when we start looking at things like the cost the benefit, the compounding effects that we can have in terms of advancing flood risk management across the catchment. I don't have anything to say about the bill. I'm not from Water New South Wales. We'll leave that for another conversation. That's not part of this study.
At the start we talked about the scope of understanding this study. Jay, the work wasn't to go in to justify a particular result, it's to completely blind to what the actual impacts were going to be. Here was the bundle they tested, the notions of 2 metres and rainfall, and is part of what has to be considered in feasibility. I'm just trying to remind folk, the nature of what these guys were asked to do and to talk about today is about that. Jay's not proposing any particular mitigation, he's talking about what's the science telling us about the impacts of this batch of things. We've got a question here, and then the gentleman over there, I know you've been waiting patiently, and then down here in the yellow. I apologise if I'm not getting to everyone, we've got about half an hour of the broader questions, and then we'll have an hour of just more smaller groups, so thank you for waiting. Yeah, it's really tricky to do that, my apologies, everyone's been waiting. Certainly not ignoring you, no, I don't think that's fair. We're trying to do this in the right spirit, so that's it, it's the wedding of Cana. So, yeah, if you could go, and then we'll throw to that gentleman, and then you're next, okay? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm here, my name is Bridget Ken, and I'm a resident of the Eltham Valley, so I've got that hat on today. One concern of mine is the vibrant communities and how they're going to be affected by these detention dams. I live very close to Booyong, so I just want to make that kind of point. The social impacts, has that been factored in? Will it be studied? The other hat I have on today is I work for North Coast Regional Land Care Network. We cover the geographic area from Tweed down to Port Macquarie and inland to the Border Ranges. We have the privilege of having one of the nature-based solutions projects. I believe in your broad response about land care is that you have consulted with Richmond Land Care and they do have a scientific study. You haven't consulted with North Coast Regional Land Care. And also I'd like to mention that there's a sister nature-based solutions project called Heal the Rivers that is with the Blue Alliance. And in case the microphone doesn't make it, oh, right, I'll hand to Kristen in a sec. So we welcome this opportunity to consult. We work with the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority in our project. They administer it. We welcome further consultation, but I'm concerned that you're putting a broad brush across your consultation with Landcare where you haven't consulted with us. And I will hand the microphone.
No, I will answer your questions before taking on the other one. I will just answer the two projects, nature-based solutions that I mentioned. They are the Richmond Land Care one, which is Louisa Rogers is running, and the other one is Ollie Costello's, Healing the Rivers. I am in touch with both of them. I meet with Ollie all the time, and you can confirm that with Ollie Costello himself. And with Louisa also, I know she just did the planting there and all. We consulted with Richmond Land Care partly because the model I was building was for Richmond. Tweed is outside. If it was Tweed, we would have surely consulted you because that's the reason we did not. So and the first thing that you asked, I think we will be better placed because that's all in the feasibility study, that's outside my scope.
And if I just might add, Jai, I work with Ollie, I'm representing the Good Alliance here, and we would welcome further yarns and potentially talk to Nina about what it would take to model the scale going of the projects that we've been working on, because that hasn't been the conversation to date.
Sorry, was there a first part of the question that you'd like state government to respond to? Pip? question's been relayed like a good football Mexican wave towards the front, so thank you very much. Absolutely, impact on community has to be a really important part of the feasibility assessment. We know there's going to be pros and cons when we start looking at that feasibility. That's why we're doing it. It's not purely just the scientific output. There's a broad range of considerations that need to be before there would be any decision about what mix of mitigation might be put in place within the catchment.
Thank you. Firstly, I want to congratulate you on a really good piece of science. We've got one of the best models for any catchment in New South Wales. We've got great value using elevation models, and the LiDAR data is fantastic. You've done the mapping. You know how many properties are going to be impacted by these 10 detention basins. You say that the files are too big. Can you tell us how many properties will be impacted? Because an analysis has revealed that it's more than 900 properties. It includes people that have relocated their houses out of flood zones. Why are we moving to look at whether this is to do a feasibility study? To spend $3 million on a feasibility study is ridiculous.
Thank you for acknowledging at least that the model is good and the data is good. Appreciate that. Number two, CSIRO is the National Science Agency who signed the contract with NEMA. We have terms of reference. Our contract finishes at doing the modeling and making the results available. We have not looked at what goes under, what used to go under before and what will go under now in those detentions. We haven't, but of course that will get looked at in the feasibility study which the RA is going to do.
In terms of the impacts, obviously there's been a significant investment in ensuring that we get good quality data, and we want good quality evidence to support any decision moving forward. You just heard Jay say he had a very specific scope, and then the question obviously comes, but what about the impact to us? Well, that wasn't the scope of the work that Jai did. The work that Jai did was about establishing a really good evidence base, and that's why state and federal government have made the financial commitment to do, call it a feasibility assessment, call it viability, call it impacts, call it whatever we want to call it. It's about understanding about the benefits of these particular works, the likely impacts of these particular works, and ultimately that needs to inform a decision by government on investment in these particular options.
Hi, we don't have access to online data. I'm in a black spot, so I want everything printed out, just forewarning you. What is the maximum Australian height datum for the Corndale detention dam that you've planned? Furthermore, how long will we be cording before we can get out? And how deep will those retention dams be when we're in the dry times?
Again, all of that detail is provided in a table in the report.
We don't have access to the report because the reception that we have in our communities is negligible. It does not download, and you've left it to the very last minute to inform anybody. We've had to come here blind.
At the end of these 2 hours, I will give you a hard copy of the report. Last time I printed 500 copies of the report, and when I brought those here, that's the validation report. 200 got taken, 300 are still sitting in my office. And I thought I should not be wasting taxpayers' money printing them. If you do not have, I will give you the report. I'm saying I have 2 copies. Yes, I will give you printed copy. Okay, you should have sent that before and we would have brought it.
Yes. So, yeah, and grab us afterwards and we'll make sure we can facilitate getting copies. Have a question just in front here. Excuse me.
You must know that. How many days?
How many days for That's what I'm trying to say, that I have done that feasibility study will determine that. That's not part of the technical study, it's part of the feasibility study.
Sorry, to go directly to your question, if you have a look on the posters and grab Jai after this, in the tables there is information about the actual structural configuration, including the times of which it will take to drain the basins as per the modelling that the Csiro team has done. In terms of what does that mean in terms of impact, so what about that? That's absolutely where that mantle then gets held over to government to start doing that assessment. In terms of, and I said public safety is obviously a number one priority for government. It's about understanding that in a multifaceted way. So, how much warning time is there? What's the durations of inundation? What's the costs associated with those impacts? Those things all need to be, I guess, investigated. That does take time, and that's why we're just very early on in the piece. But we did want to say, we're not just leaving it at the work that Csiro has done. We know there are other questions that need to be answered so that we can get to the point where, we can start to explore things like business cases and investment, and there's a journey to go.
Sorry, I know everyone's so many hands up. We've got, lady just here with a microphone, then lady in the brown. We'll go to the back there, two ladies there, and then we'll swing back over here, okay? Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
lady just here, she's got the microphone.
I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on Bundjalung country. Thank you for the opportunity of this public consultation. My first is a sort of a comment. I noticed in the report, which I have been through, that the work was preceded with a survey, a feedback form. I'm wondering if there was a bit of a misunderstanding with some of the respondents, because I noted that it commented that overwhelmingly people supported detention basins. Now, the actual question, measure 6, 7 and 8, basically said retain the water in the upper catchment in 3 different areas. Now, I filled out that form. I did not understand that to be hardscaping. I thought that meant repairing the riparian zone. So I'm wondering how many other people who filled out that form didn't realise that this translated to building dam walls. And so I have some of my questions have been already answered. So just broadly, how is it an improvement to flood upstream areas to only reduce flood heights downstream by 1 to 2 metres? And also, I'm just wondering, in your modelling, was there any consideration given to the amount of landslips? This is in the 2022 flood. There were massive landslips, and I understand that erosion and extra soil, not to mention trees and logs, in the floodwaters would considerably swell the volume of the floodwaters. And or block everything, Anyway, it's just that would have increased the levels of the flood significantly.
Okay. I will answer your first question. There was a full day consultation held by NEMA, Csiro and RA. The numbers are given in the report, how many people attended. We had maps like we have of the results now on the board, on the walls. People came, they asked, what is the detention storage? Whoever came, it was exactly explained to them that what is the detention storage. If in your case you did not come or you did not ask that question and you were under the... Okay, see, now what I will say is, you are saying, last time about 250 people came. This time it's 500, I don't know, maybe more.
What's Lismore's population though? That's such a small amount of people. It's for everybody.
Absolutely true, it is absolutely true what you are saying, but NEMA, Csiro and RA can advertise the best we can. After that, that's what it is.
The whole process is now going to be spent on 250 people's opinions.
We're just, can we just... Question here in the brown. Thanks.
being affected by climate change, this is a question for government really. Is this, have other areas been considered? Is there a government plan for the whole of Australia and for the whole of New South Wales to deal with the effects of climate change? We've been a bit of a canary in the coal mine, but then so have a great many other communities. And it seems that there's a lot of flying blind and acting on, you know, seat of our pants sort of stuff that's not really coming up with big answers, even though the science has been in for 50 years, really, which is one of the reasons you're getting such emotional responses here. And we've just been canaries blown totally off course.
Perfect. I guess I'll be as direct as I can without going down a massive rabbit warren of the framework in which New South Wales considers things like climate change. When it comes to flood risk management and the flood risk management process, that's led by our agency, the Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water. And under that process, yes, climate change is considered in every flood study that is undertaken and delivered at a local government scale, and that's funded by the state but delivered at a local scale. When it comes to climate change, we've got a whole department that is dedicated to understanding what future climates look like and then putting in place. So you might have heard of NARCLIM, that's our data portal for what future climate scenarios look like. There's a climate adaptation plan. Those things are constantly reviewed to ensure that they're contemporary and fit for purpose. How is that considered as part of this particular study? I might hand the mic back to Jay to talk to the climates that were selected and how you ended up with those climates.
Regarding the 3 climates that are selected, majority of the community members in the feedback said 2017 and 2022, partly because that's what impacted Lismore and this area more. Kyogle and Casino, they requested, community as well as council, that 2008 was a pretty bad flood for them. So they requested 2008, and so 2008 was included in there. That's the climate, and it's historical climate. We have not looked at climate change because that was not in our terms of reference. But I will add one more thing. The model is physically based. So if someone produces that future climate, it can be run through the model and it will give you the result. It doesn't need to be recalibrated or anything. If we have the future climate, which we don't have, and it was not in the terms of reference for this contract.
Okay, we've got, again, lady at the back with the microphone, then another lady, and then, yeah, I know everyone's got hands up. We've just got to try to sequence through. So this lady, a lady with the glasses, gentleman in the blue, and then back to the lady that's sitting down there with, so, yes, please, thank you.
Hi, my name's Rebecca. I actually work for Richmond Landcare, and we have the Nature-Based Solutions project that people have been referring to. NEMA and RA have been incredibly supportive. This is a pilot project. We have our project manager, Louisa Rogers, who's not here today, is a scientist. We're working with SCU, ANU, Griffith University. We're gathering the evidence for nature-based solutions. We identified landholders in Tunterville and Terania Creeks, and we have been doing plantings. We've had depth loggers placed in the waterways, and we gathered data during Cyclone Alfred. We've got preliminary positive results, which is now under peer review, and we are about to be doing a lot of community engagement and sharing with the community what we've learned. As I said, this is a pilot, so we had a certain amount of funding. Our evidence was not going to be ready by the time that this report was released, which is why it's not included. But we've got some excellent minds working on these models, and we will have some information to release. We had a Science in the Pub event last Thursday, which was very well attended, and we talked about lots of projects going on in this region with Lismore City Council, Rouse County Council, We work with other groups like Richmond River Keeper.
Is there a question?
Sorry?
Is there a question?
It's not a question. I'm just making a statement that...
Can we all just, everyone else has had a chance of also making commentary as well as a question. Let's be a bit fair here. Can you finish your, and if there's a question, that's great, but let's keep just moving through. Thank you.
Yeah, I just did want everybody to know that this is underway and we will be coming out and the community will be informed about that.
Where can we find it?
Okay. There's a question about where they can find it when it's available. Is that, will you have details of that?
Yes, it's on the website, our Facebook page.
All of our socials, we've been posting about it. We have community planting days, tree care days. All of our land care groups are involved in the Richmond land care area.
Thank you. Yes, in the green top there. Yep, thank you. And then I do want to cross the lady in the back, and then the gentleman in the blue sweater after that. Thanks. In the white sweater. Okay, thank you.
This is a question for Will. First off, Will, can you tell us what your role is with RA, and to fully introduce yourself? And also, given the recent report about the productivity and outcomes of the work that RA's been doing over the last 4 years, could you please share the scope and RA's capacity to effectively manage the $2 million in funding or the $3 million if RA's committing to do all of that work? Can you talk about RA's capacity to effectively manage that study? Because the community has lost a lot of confidence in RA over the last 4 years.
Yeah, so my role with the RA, and I've been involved with these previous sessions with the Csiro and NEMA, previous roles including managing flood risk and adaptation within the Northern Rivers Adaptation Division based here in Lismore. So I'm here in my capacity to provide some continuity. Obviously I've got deep knowledge of the work that Csiro has done through this process over the last 18 months when I've been involved in that consultation engagement. So it's a little bit of a familiar face. I sit as the Technical Director for Floodplain Management Australia. I am a flood engineer by trade, so in terms of being able to talk to what the work that Csiro have done and how that relates into, government and the future decision making, that's my role here to talk to that. In terms of the ability for the RA to effectively manage an investment of $2 million of state funding and $1 million of federal funding, so I just want to make sure we've got the correct figures there. Look, I know there has been criticism, and I'm not going to shy away from that. I've been here, live in the Tweed, I've seen how the RA has performed over time, and I certainly know that there's a strong commitment to continue to improve on how things are being run by the Reconstruction Authority.
Stop the demolitions.
Sorry?
Stop the demolitions.
Thank you. Note the commentary. In terms of as it relates to this scope of work, and I want to be purposeful to your and respond to your question, the RA's role is going to be to coordinate, and we know that the RA does a very good job of coordinating people. We spoke to the Northern Rivers Recovery and Resilience program of work that the RA has administered across the region. So coordinating across our agencies, and again we've had questions about parts of New South Wales government business that wouldn't be the responsibility of the RA, but we need to be able to coordinate those and bring them to the table to help inform the conversations that are had with the community as we progress work on understanding the viability of the options that have been presented. And I don't know, Pat. So the scope at this point in time is honestly to be determined in many regards. What we do know is that there is a strong commitment to continue the momentum behind the work that Jay and the team has done. Excuse me, you asked me the question, please allow me to respond to it. Well, if you don't want me to respond to the question, we can have a private conversation on the site, and I don't want to take up the time of the room who do want me to answer questions. The scope of the feasibility assessment the RA will coordinate is around looking at technical, community, social, environmental, economic viability associated with this work so we can move towards actually getting some funding to help reduce flood risk in this catchment. It is the scope of the work that Jay has done, so it's the whole catchment.
Thank you for your patience, and gentlemen, I know you've been waiting quite a while, and I know a few others as well. I think we've got another 15 minutes of the open questions, then we will mingle around. Please don't go unless you have to, and you can ask further questions as well. Thank you for your patience, ma'am.
Thanks. I just want to make a comment, but I've got a question also. Just in regards to the whole consultation process and all this here, is it going to be better? And have you planned forward some plans when consultation so we can have some proper consultation? And it's thing to hit it with the full report, but can you possibly break it up into different sessions where the document can be looked at each session over time so people can make a really informed decision and get the right information and be able to ask questions and get some answers, because there's a lot of concerns out there and they're valid concerns. I'm from Widgeable Rival Grumble Corporation. It's with a native title group in Lismore and surrounds, and there's some really major concerns here, and we need to think of this here as the environmental factors, that we're trying to protect and also our landscape. What is that going to look like? Because all these dams, right? We not only get affected by the dams coming, we get affected by Queensland, and that's what hit us in the 2022 floods when they opened their dams up there. So I don't see how we're going to be protected if they're opening dams up to come downstream. Our how many dams, 10, whatever, are all going to get flooded anyway. And the devastation, the impacts are going to be higher than the 2022 floods. I don't know if that's in your study, but
Thank you. A lot of points very well made. Look, in terms of moving forward with the engagement, we can see that there are a lot of people that are very passionate about this study and where it goes. I said at the outset... Sorry? Thank you. If you allow me, I will. And so the engagement, what I want to leave, I'm not bringing this to a premature close. This is an active community. Stay engaged. The way that you do that is by continuing to, the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority will make announcements through its website. That is the best place to stay in touch as we get greater clarity around what the feasibility assessment looks like, the cadence of engagement, and places to be engaged.
We're not wrapping it up now. We explained the structure. Yeah. No one said they're wrapping it up. I'm not sure. No. What I'm saying is that I really want to answer your question. I honestly do. So what we said is the structure is 1 hour of questions and then 1 hour of us being around there to answer more direct questions or more detail. That was always the plan. That's been the plan. So and it's hard and we're losing time when people are calling out. So gentleman's been waiting for quite a while, and then we'll go to some other questions, okay? And yep, thank you, and then up front as well.
Thanks, my question's more from the start. I've been to each meeting, Jay, that you've been to. We discussed that the first one was the M1, likely to be a chance of being a dam. You told me at the first meeting you would tell me in 24 you should have the information by then. I then wrote to you again in 24 and you said it would be 26. It seems to me that the highway has not been looked at at all. If you're trying to chase 2 metres, that's all you can get, and you need 10 dams to do that. We live about 100 metres south of the Baltimore Street Bridge on the river. Now in the 17 flood, the water went through there, it roared, it screamed. There was actually a metre rise in the centre of the river. It was going that fast. We're just past the bend. We had about nearly a metre on the ground at our premises in 17, and there was no highway. In 22, the highway was there. I've got some photos from Lane Beach. They've flown into the Gold Coast on the 1st of March. There's a picture of the M1 still underwater at New Italy, still underwater a bit above Ballina. Now, the M1 was never ever to flood. The M1 was only supposed to add 50 centimetres to Lismore's flood height. Now, in your report, you say nobody told you how many holes to put in the road to make it more feasible for the water to get through the highway. That is the only address you gave the highway in the report. Now, it seems to me that it needs far more investigation than that, and I believe the $3 million that you now have may well be asking Jai to please check the damage that the highway did to the rest of us upstream. Now, part of my research on this over here that spoke earlier will hopefully back me up on this. In the last 24 hours, in 2017 and 22, the catchment got in excess of 1,200 mil of rain in both floods. Now, in the catchment area, all that water comes past our front door. As I say, the 17 flood, it screamed and it went. We ended up with over half a metre of very clean creek sand in parts of our bank area. In 22, we ended up with a metre of mud. Hence, water much slower, sediment dropping quicker. So I don't see how we can not look at the highway when we're going and talking about this sort of money. The money you're talking about with your 10 dams, we can relocate Lismore. And it seems the only reason that Lismore is not taking on relocation in a big way is because of the people who own buildings in the CBD. We have to get to a point where that isn't the main thinking. We've got to think about the people in the flood basin. We know it's a floodplain. You drive up from Ballina, you can go nearly up, or you go to Terrania basically, you're just at the end of the floodplain. I would like to know why the highway was not really looked at.
Thank you. And I do remember we have been talking. You do come for the consultation stakeholder, and we have been talking. When I started the modeling, we did discuss that I may consider the highway, but then I was told, because I was called, that there is a class action going on against that highway. I cannot interfere in anything, but we have modeled it. I cannot comment on it in my report, but the highway has been modeled in the report, and those results will be available at high resolution from NEMA. So that court action, I really don't know that class action, what happened with that, but I can tell you one thing, it has been modeled. So you have 17 results from the model, you have 22 results as well. Those high resolution images you can request from NEMA, and as Sophie said, they will be made available. You can look at them and comment. I will not comment because I am CSIRO person.
Would burn 65 hours later. Lismore would burn 12 hours later. The water has backed up.
Yes. I will add one more thing. I did calculate the velocities and upstream of Lismore. And when I started doing the modeling, when I was calculating the velocity, I got really shocked that I might not be able to do any hydrodynamic modeling because it was upstream of Lismore, especially in the Leicester. Given the slope, it was approaching supercritical velocity. If it becomes supercritical, super fast hydrodynamic models are not valid anymore. But we stayed just slightly, so the velocity and force was huge as well. I agree. Yes, no, I wouldn't comment on that.
Right, so a green top here, sorry, classify everyone by their tops they're wearing, and blue jacket there. Yep.
Look over this way.
Okay, over here, thank you. Thank you. Oh,
Here, we want her to speak.
That's fine. Thank you.
You ready? With some respect, I do think that having the three Csiro scientists here grilled on the report that's already been written has been a little bit frustrating. I'm much more interested in talking about where this goes, and I think the community is as well. So I think that's spread some frustration. The report's been written, the modelling's been written. I'm a scientist myself. I know how reports are written. I've written reports that don't go anywhere. There's been a couple of comments made already from public representatives saying that this is going to a feasibility study. I'd be much more interested in the community having a say about whether that happens or not. And I would. So it's been difficult for you, Jay, and team being grilled like that. Our attention, I think, is much more on those other issues. In particular, I'd love to see a report written seriously with the same kind of attention and funding on nature-based solutions. You've got two pilot projects happening now with Heal the Rivers and with caring for catchments that are absolutely amazing. They're doing a lot of really great work, and we need to see those brought into a report or a feasibility study that can be compared against this one and give the community a real option to decide and a real way of engaging properly with this, rather than this being pushed through as some kind of cut through. Yeah.
Thank you, your point is well heard.
One of our biggest concerns is that the money is being spent on this stuff when it could be going towards regen and it could be going towards retreat. So a staged retreat in Lismore from those emergency level areas and regen of the catchment itself, not just the riparian area but the areas surrounding it, because we need that canopy to slower and lower the rainfall impact. We need the roots to send that underground. And I think something that we all, I would address this to you, Will, we all would like to understand a little bit clearer. What I'm reading between the lines, what I'm hearing from Will is that the RA is backing this study and it's backing this solution, and the RA has a mandate to do something about the flood, to do something about future floods. And that's a funded mandate, that's a government level mandate, and that's something that we need to take more seriously as a community and start to ask the RA and ask NEMA and ask the relevant bodies, but where are we going in terms of that? Where are we going in terms of that relative to a nature-based solution, which would be regeneration of the catchments, and a retreat solution, which deals with the mandate of the RA? Because, we're probably not really hearing what's being said between the lines, is that they're going to put this through. If this isn't a chance for us to input in the way that we think it is, this is being decided in an administrative process. So we need to be a bit clearer. Thank you.
I will just clarify one thing to everyone here. Given it gets put that 11.4 million and it's on the website, everyone thinks all 11.4 million is getting used for this modeling. So I just give the numbers here. These are the numbers. 5 million out of this for 11.4 was used to collect the LADAR DEM, which everyone, Landcare is also using it. Every group is using it. It's the best DEM across the region, first time. That plus the river bathymetry, which again, lot of nature-based solutions also are using. Heal the rivers and all those are using it. That is $5 million, which is getting used. So far it has been downloaded 5,000 times. Okay? So that's a permanent data set which this 11.4 created. Another 1.5 million out of that was used for the first two reports, which guided the allocation of 150 million federal funding. That was through this project, and out of that is where Oli Costello's project as well as the Richmond Land Care project 6.5 million were funded, right? So those 150 million was based on that 1.5 million. So now it's already 6.5 million was gone. The remaining only is used for this hydrodynamic modeling. So I'm putting it clear here. And these data sets, the LADAR and bathymetry, many government agencies, consultants, and Will is a consultant, he can say he has used it himself. Everybody is using 5,000 people because that's a consistent data set which was not available ever in this region.
And I don't want to avoid your point in terms of the level of commitment from government. We are not making any commitment that a decision is being made that these things are going to be constructed or not constructed. You can hear the variety of opinions and the needs to answer questions. What government is saying is $3 million is what starts that process so that we can come and start refining down for what is the place and personal impact associated with infrastructure such as being contended through Jay's report, and what are the other things that we need to consider, because that's the journey that government goes through to get to a business case. So there is no decision, yes or no, that we're doing it. That's what the feasibility assessment is to start that process.
I just wanted to qualify that if it's okay. So at what point... I just wanted to qualify that if that's okay. So at what point is there a point where the nature-based solutions and the retreat-based solutions get that same level of feasibility, transparency,
that is the whole intention of where we're moving to. You just heard Jay say that when you do the breakdown, there's about $4 million spent on building the hydrodynamic model. We're saying that government at state and federal level has committed $3 million to looking at the feasibility of such studies. I think I would suppose that there is agreement that we need an evidence base to make this decision and inform where things go in the future. And that's the purpose of the work that the RA and NEMA are committing to get the ball rolling on, is understanding and getting that evidence base equally on other considerations beyond just the hydrodynamic side of things.
So there is a study that's going to happen. There is.
Yep, that's what I said at the start. I said that what we are doing when we consider feasibility is just beyond the science piece, but also then the pieces that move us in terms of technical viability, economic viability, community viability, environmental viability, the whole plethora that you would typically expect. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's worthwhile answering, and then I'll give the mic to Pat so we can get a couple more questions. New South Wales Government absolutely acknowledges that there's a range of exposure and vulnerability reduction measures, things like managed relocation, resilient buildings, they are all within that toolkit.
And region as well?
Catchment management solutions and the like.
All right, thanks for your patience, Will, and thanks for the questions and commentary. So that's really valuable. Yes?
So I see 4 people who are hydrologists or water engineers up there. Water needs to go up before it comes down. I'm asking you, did any of you see lots of work coming ahead in the middle of January 2022? Did anybody notice something there? Middle of January 2022. Yes, there was a question already. There's a question. I don't notice. Okay.
We did see a lot of water coming down on 27th and 28th of Feb 2022
that's right,
and rain. Yes.
But that's right. How did it come up? It comes up, of course, with the sun. That's clear. But not only. So, did anybody of you notice anything in January? Did anything click?
There is a report. There is a report published by University of New South Wales professor who is a well-known entity in this, where he has shown, as has been by Bureau, that there was a blocking high sitting because of which the front which came from the ocean cannot go forward, and it kept dumping water. Normally what happens all historically is front comes from the ocean, it dumps on Tweed, moves on Wilson, Tarania, and then it moves on towards Casino. But because of the blocking height, the Tasman, it cannot go forward, and it kept dumping.
Can we agree that the whole of the East Coast had a lot of flooding, Lismore especially bad? So again, the same question, Did anybody of you notice anything in the midst of January?
We can have this discussion
somebody
one-to-one.
working at SES now.
We can have this discussion
She knows. She noted exactly this, so I'm not telling her. So all I'm trying to say, that the 2022 flooding, this monster flooding we had, is very much impacted by this event, which is a nature event.
Okay, what we might do is just, if Jay can grab you after this for a bit more of a deep dive into that, because we've just got a couple more questions to go. This lady's been waiting a long time, and then over to you there. Okay, apologies. So, here over this side, please, and then back, sorry. Yep. Yep.
Hello? Okay, I just wanted to start with a comment that we talked about earlier, which is about communications. I only found out about this consultation because I'm on Facebook. I know quite a few people who are not. And I know people who are elderly, people with disabilities who cannot access Facebook, but who would be very interested in this information. I do think we need to look at letter drops and, other ways of getting the information out there. Thank you. I'm also interested in terms of the nature-based and retreat plans that we consider these groups also, elderly and people with disabilities, because there are group homes, there's special considerations for these groups, so we really need to start thinking about these. Now, I wanted to ask about, yes, this might sound like a stupid question, and I don't know if it's been considered in the nature studies, but this might be a question for Will. Has anybody looked at the idea of actually doing a cost-benefit analysis of dredging the river? Because there has been continuing depositing of sediment with every successive flood, and the riverbed is rising higher and higher, is becoming shallower and shallower. It stands to reason that it's going to flood quicker and quicker. So that's my first question.
So on the dredging front, yes, dredging has been historically studied when it comes to flooding behaviour and I guess the effectiveness of that in mitigating flooding. Obviously, it didn't rate highly to make it into the bundles that Jay modelled. The idea and the conversation happened yesterday at Casino as well. So, look, I'm aware that it's a live issue across the community. We've certainly taken note to make sure that we are able to provide some quantification of that within the mix of measures.
Okay, I have a follow-up question for you about areas, nature reserves, which may be under legal protections. Do we have any idea of how much nature protection legislation must be dredged through or gotten rid of to allow for these dams to be put in?
Good question, not my area of expertise, but obviously when we consider the viability of any of these structures, the legal legislative approvals process needs to be part of that picture.
Okay, and one final question, sorry. This is more for the Csiro team, and that is, have you, in the course of your report, because I have not read the report, actually employed the algorithms for these various dams to show what the outcome could have been in the 2022 flood had these dams already been in place?
Yes, that is the base of the CSIR report. When you read it, we have the baseline scenario where there is no detention. We show the level, and when we say that Lismore there is a reduction of 2.08 meter. So historically it was 14.4. When we put the detention, we reduce it by 2.08 meters. So yes, the comparisons have been put in every angle.
And you'll find some of the information on the posters as well. Just in terms of, we'll go to 11:30 and then we'll stay for another half hour to actually have other questions. Just letting you know, because that is the 45 minutes over when we'll go to the open questions as well. So just to hear for a question, and then we'll keep going until another quarter of an hour, and then we're still here for you to ask questions of Jay and the government. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. First, I would like to say how I do appreciate that $5 million spent on the incredible mapping of our Richmond catchment. It is immensely valuable. Can I also say that, I have a big concern about the maps that NEMA says, Susan, that you say NEMA is going to provide, because the problem is there was a lack of engagement with the upstream communities during this past 12 months. Had you engaged with the upstream communities, you would have found out the critical importance that they see an inundation map for each of those detentions. And I know, Jay, when I spoke to you and you explained to me about the complexity of the model and the hugeness of the data, we don't want 500 maps. We want one map that clearly shows the maximum inundation, so that people can see, so that the roads are marked, we can see that the Lismore to Bangalore road is taken out, we can see that Lismore to Kawangla are taken out, we can see all of these roads that are taken out, we can see the topographical features. So can you assure me that when you produce these maps, that you talk to some actual upstream people and find out what they need in terms of looking at the maps?
Annie, first thing I will say, acknowledge in front of everyone, Kia provided a lot of major data for the 2017 and 2022 flood in the upstream area, which was included in the validation of the model, and thank you, Annie, for providing that, because that was extremely useful. I was just explaining that it's not that easy. Number two, each map, the outputs are at 3 hourly time step for the entire event. 2022 runs from 16th of Feb 22 till 16th of April. So you are talking of terabytes of data, but NEMA also will need some time to do it. So just be patient, it's only 18 days, 20 days. They will provide, otherwise, yes, I'm pretty sure they will provide. The maps are there.
Yes, but will they talk to some people, some upstream people, to find out what's, is the sort of map that's going to be produced? Is it going to be a map that works for us?
It is part of the next step, but I will give it.
Andy, I was just going to say, can you come and find me afterwards and have a chat about what you might like on that, between Sophie and I.
Sorry, I lost track who's got the mic. There you go, thank you.
Thank you. My question is actually on behalf of the whole Rock Valley and Larnwood community. You've heard from them, maybe a bit of a show of hands of how many of us are here today. So this is directly from all those people in the audience. And we do have an envelope we're going to be putting in your hands afterwards, which will back up that these questions are from all of us and a big population. First of all, I just want to say that the Rock Valley and Larnwood community overwhelmingly and categorically reject the proposed Rock Valley detention dam. And I want to make clear that many, if not most of us, believe that this project will simply not be cost effective or even feasible. So most of us don't believe that the $3 million is actually a good use of taxpayers' money, because we can tell you straight away it's not feasible. But, and this is where our question comes, and I direct the question to RA and to NEMA, and that is that if this feasibility study really has to go ahead, which we're basically hearing it does, that we would strongly ask that the terms of reference for the feasibility study will incorporate all the questions that our community have put together into this document, 215 of them, directly from the members of our community, that in forming the terms of reference for the feasibility study, that representatives of at least one, if not multiple ones of the detention dam areas are represented in the formation of the terms of reference for the feasibility study. And finally, again to RA and NEMA, that our community and all the communities that would be affected are really fully, sensibly and ethically informed and consulted throughout the feasibility process.
Thank you. Yes, you deserve to take a big breath after that. Look, your sentiments with regards to the nature of engagement, I think we would all agree that needs to occur. And that is, in part, why there's a financial backing to ensure we get the right resources around making sure you guys are heard as we move through the feasibility assessment. With regards to the 215 points in your letter, let's have a look at that in the first instance. I wouldn't want to make any sort of commitment before that, but please do provide it over. We'll make sure that it feeds into the discussions around setting the terms of reference.
G'day, my name's Maddie. I have the privilege of working with Resilient Lismore in a comms role. A couple of things I want to just uplift, and that is the words that Auntie shared earlier when we were told we have 15 minutes to go, and she's from the Widjabul Warrabul cultural group, and just reinforce everything she said, as well as Kristen Denexter from Jargon Alliance. I want to know, and it kind of brings together what a few people have been saying, more detail about how what's being said here will be genuinely considered, how it's going to be communicated after this, how it's going to be captured, you know, how the Northern Rivers DAP and the process with that might intersect with some of this. And then finally, I just want to see if anyone from a directly impacted area from this study hasn't spoken yet, so I can give you the mic.
Hi. I want to talk about your report in terms of what you say about there being stakeholder consultation. I live in Cornwall Valley. First I found out about this scheme was last week when a neighbour phoned me in tears to say that the council had approved putting a dam at the end of the road to flood us all. You knew what properties were going to be adversely affected by this, but you didn't write to any of us and say, do you mind if we build a dam at the end of the road and flood you out, did you? Have you heard of Australian Post, Doctor?
Thanks for your news. As I explained to you, CSIRO is the National Science Agency. I came here. If you didn't come here for those consultations, yeah, I wouldn't know who came, who not, but 250 people came and they gave their view. CSIRO does not implement anything. We have given recommendation that this can be done. It's up to the government of the day.
Yeah, the guy in the pink shirt. Maybe the question's for him.
Why don't you be honest?
That's a Will question. Give it to Will so he can address that man.
Well, it's part of also learning about what we want to do next for the next phase, so I'd certainly take that as well.
He deserves a response.
Can we, hey, there's some people still haven't spoken yet. I'll pass to Will. We've got another question. Then we're going to have, we'll be down on the floor with you, so you can actually ask some further questions there, okay? So we're still going to our full 2 hours as we committed to at the start, but I'll just throw to Will just to talk about the direct question on it.
Look, just quickly with regards to locations, as the CSIRO team have said, they identified some locations. Have a read through the report. If you haven't already, they did that by looking at the topography and the natural pinch points in the topography. Exactly what that footprint looks like, that's going to be subject of some further detailed investigation. So as we get closer to the end of that process, of course, there will be notification to residents. I say though, everyone's got an obligation to be, I guess, aware of the work that's going. You're all sitting here today. That's okay. I appreciate, sorry, if you've got a voice to yell at me, then you've got a set of ears to listen. And that means that you can, sorry, please. Okay, then I won't worry about talking anymore. Thank you. I won't be spoken to.
Can we just, everyone just quiet? There's someone still trying to ask a question, right? Yeah, you got the mic. And then we'll take another question, and then we're going to come down the floor and break into groups. Thank you.
So my question,
can you hold the mic up a little bit, please? Thank you.
My question is how you will take this information back to NEMA and RA about this community, the small portion of it that is here today. How will you transfer this information back? And I have a suggestion for that. I would like a show of hands of people in this room who are for this report and the concepts that it represents. Who's for? Who's for the concept that this report represents? Who's for the damming? Okay, well I can see about 2 hands.
Thank you.
I see 2 hands, and I hope you can reflect the number of people here that are very strongly against it.
Thank you. That's noted. No. Sorry, there's someone on the stripes. Is that right? Caleb?
I've got a mic.
I've
got a mic. Can I speak?
Sorry, I can't see. Why I can't focus? Sorry, gentlemen.
You've seen me every day this week. We're all friends now. I came to every meeting this week, Monday, Tuesday, and today. I'm not even involved. I'm not even in the damaged areas or the potential flood areas. But I was in Lismore for 10 days when it flooded and helped. And I watched the community help each other. It's a strong community. Emergency services were nowhere to be seen. So there's your help of the government. The army came 10 days later to shoot poster pictures. It speaks clearly that there's no people of the government here that actually have some say in it. No councillors or other people who are actually picked by the people.
We're here, mate. We're here.
Sorry, can you just get to a question or because then we'll move to more general sessions. Yeah.
So the Monday meeting was held with just posters. There weren't even chairs, so people were confused what's even planned for this meeting, how we can communicate. And so we took it upon ourselves, put chairs down, and everybody sat down. So you have to stand and be heard to hear us. You've learned from that, so yesterday you had chairs and microphones, and today as well. Congratulations on that. So the advertising was clearly not good enough that the people who are involved or damaged by that have any way of saying anything. Everybody heard it by coincidence, maybe, because not many people are on Facebook anymore, I guess. Not people who are involved in this kind of stuff. I would like to say again, like I've done every day this week, if you look at the history of this area, there's been flooding before, but it got severely worse once the logging began 150 years ago. Yeah. And all the riches were taken away and the land was raped. So the flooding got severely worse after that. So if you go back in history and just, looking at the studies about nature, like working with nature instead of working against nature, I think that would be the first step to take. I think that somebody decided that we need a dam, and then found a way to make people believe they're there to help. I think it's just to gather a lot of water for potentially data centers for smart cities.
I think people asked about how nature-based work is going to be fed in, and we've answered that question, so I don't want to go over that long.
That's right, I think the order is false. Go with nature first and then look at the other things if that doesn't work. I think
it's already funded, mate. Millions of dollars. What do you want? Nature or detention?
What we might do?
What do you want?
Pick one. We're going to come down on the floor soon. I just want to say one thing. A few people are raised. Please let me finish. You've given us pretty honest and frank feedback about where we need to improve the way we consult. And Auntie, thank you very much for your words on that and your words of wisdom on that too. About thinking about the people we want to talk to and how we make it accessible. We get that. I mean, my goodness, 500 odd people, probably at least, a fair bit more than that. That's great, and word by mouth is still a pretty healthy way, by the way, of finding out. We made every attempt. There's no way to try to hide what this is about, which was to ask about the science behind the work. Definitely agree with the point about the need to engage authentically and with some trust about what happens next with the government's consideration. And we get the mistrust part where you want to make sure we're taking notes from here. And you're right, we did learn. We adjusted to the way we did our communications throughout. So I'm going to just say really quickly, I really need to get us on the floor so we can ask some more detailed questions.
Lismore people don't expect anybody to help you. This is not for you.
Hey, pull your head in, mate. Pull your head in.
Listen, I just want to quickly thank Jay and the scientists from CSIRO. Can you please give them a round of applause? They've been contracted to do a body of work from government, which they've done. Jay's and team have been amazingly accessible to explain the methodology. They're not propagating, they're not promoting a particular way. They were asked to look for that, and it's up to us, government, to think about how we engage with you on next steps. So we're going to walk around the floor. Please make the time to bail us up, ask us more questions, have a look at the data. So thank you everyone for attending. I really do appreciate it.
It's all right. Over.
So, lady, just one last comment. Can people who want to join James's Facebook group please touch base with him? I'm not promoting it, but it's something for James to have a discussion with you about. Thank you.